Mm. I have to quench my thirst, y'all, because the beginning, well, not the beginning, throughout this episode, the revelation between one particular couple had me thrown. So let's get into it because we need to talk about it. Hey guys, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. This episode was something else. We are here to review episode 7 of Put a Ring on It, and from my facial expression, you already know. You already know. So let's get into it because there is so much that happened. So many interesting facts, okay? So the episode actually picked up with, remember last week Dr. Nicole read Sean for filth because she was basically like, sir, you're wasting our time. You like these women. And then at the end of everything, you'll say all these wonderful, great things, enjoyed the dates. And then in the end, you're like, no, you don't want to go out on a date with them. So of course she asked him again, like, does he want to go out on a second date with Tari? So after everything, he said yes, because he decided not to let fear influence his decision to not go. And after that, basically, she really just wrapped up the summary of the week. So we have LaRonda, who's going to be going out on a second date with Derek because she wants to get to know him a bit better. Eric is very much in the clouds over Leilani. So, of course, he's going on a second date with her. Jessica is going out on a third date with Sean, actually. Was it Alexia needs to focus on herself because she chose not to continue her date. And then Darian, before Dr. Nicole could even say date, he was like, no, 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 don't call it a date, call it closure. So I guess he's going on a closure meeting with Madame Kai. And we're here for it. We're here for it. Dr. Nicole is definitely stirring the pot for the premise of the show, but baby, we're here for it. On top of that, Dr. Nicole tells all the couples that this week they need to find the time to talk to each other about their vision of marriage. What that means is just that they need to see whether or not they're on the same page on what they envision their married life to be should they get married. Because if not, then they'll know that obviously that's not something that they can work towards. So Alexia in her confessional says that she's very nervous, and I guess she's just feeling a bit uneasy about the conversation because she says in the 14 years that they've been together, her and Darion, that that's not really something that he's spoken about. And I'm just like, ma'am, 14 years, 14 years, 3 children later, and you don't see that as a problem. I feel like there comes a point when we just have to let Alexia be Alexia, because at this point for me, she's willfully blind. If in 14 years someone has not mentioned marriage, it means that that's not something that they want to do. And so I'm finding it harder week by week to feel sorry for her because she's willfully ignorant. And I mean, if you like it, we love it. Come on. The session ends and then all the couple leave, and the couple we decide to, I guess, go home with is Sean and LaRonda. So we're in their car with them while they're driving home, and LaRonda opens up a conversation between the both of them, and she says, well, how did you find the session today? Sean says, I found it super confusing. And I don't know, Lauren just seemed so like irritated. You know, when you're having a conversation with someone, but you're like, this is really not a conversation you want to have. So she was just like, what's confusing about it? It's very simple. You come to the session, you sound like you really like these women, and then you say you don't want to go out with them. She's just saying to him, like, you need to explore the relationships. It's just that simple. But from his point of view, he's telling us in his confessional that this relationship with LaRonda is the first relationship he's been completely committed and just like not cheating. So essentially, he doesn't want to pursue things beyond a certain point because for him, he says he's not used to, hanging out with someone that he likes, having a connection or a vibe with someone, and then it doesn't become like a potential threat or having some sort of potential relationship. So LaRonda was just like, well, you're afraid you won't pass the test, so you just decide to cop out and not have the test. So for her, that's irritating because she's saying that if it were me, I would take the test and I would pass every single time. So I guess she wants to know that he will go on the date and he will, I guess, want to be in their relationship, want to be with her so much that that would not affect like the outside person would not affect their relationship. So I guess that's where she is right now, because in her confessional she tells us that she's extremely frustrated with the situation and with talking to Sean about this, and I'm thinking they just need to both move forward. They don't seem to be in such a great space compared to when they started. The next scene, we're at Jessica and Eric's house, and this was funny to me because these two, as we know, have like a whole jealousy thing going on. And so Jessica looks like she was sitting in their living room or something, and Eric comes out and he's literally getting ready for his date. But the smile on his face, I was just looking at him like, sir, you're a little bit too excited. You're way too excited. And of course, she noticed, and you know that bothers her. So I find that she was asking him a lot of questions like, what are you looking forward to about this date? Are you looking forward to getting away from me? Like these type of questions that made it seem like she was feeling a bit insecure. But anyways, eventually Leilani comes to the door. She rings the doorbell, and for the first time, Jessica was just like, nah, I'll get it. So she lets her in. She compliments her, but then when she comes inside, she's like, oh, have a seat. She wants to ask her some questions. So of course, Leilani and Eric have to sit at the table with her. She gets some shot glasses with her face or her body on it. She's like, oh, we're gonna drink out of me today. She was just doing the most, in my opinion. So it made it clear that she was threatened by Leilani. And then even just like how she was acting, you know, as women, I think women will understand this. Maybe guys don't understand what I mean by this, but I feel like Jessica was being nice, nasty. So she's not really saying anything mean, but it's the attitude and how she was coming across. Because even when the lady said what she did for a living, and she was like, oh, that's cute, I'll make an appointment. We should make an appointment. And then I think she said like Eric would make the appointment. Jessica was like, oh no, honey, I'm the one going to be making the appointment. I was just like, wow, she's super threatened by this date. I think because she realizes that he is attracted to this lady, and then of course he says that she listens to him, so there's a communication factor that he's getting from her that he doesn't get from Jessica. So the jealousy was on like 95 out of 100 on this interaction. But eventually that situation wraps up, and Eric and Leilani leave for their date, and that was the end of that. Next up, we're in Darian and Alexia's home, and they start having a conversation based on the assignment Dr. Nicole asked them to have about how their vision of marriage is going to look. So first things first, Darian confessional, he's just basically saying that marriage, he didn't say verbatim that marriage is not something he wants, but he said, I would do this only for Alexia because it's something that she wants. That is just a nice way of saying, I don't want to get married. I do not want to be married. So I just don't even know why we're still here pushing this issue. Like, I feel like he's made it clear. Anyway, so back to them actually speaking to each other. He starts by saying, after she asked him like what does he envision it as, and he's just like, well, you know, he's just not wanting the title of the marriage to change things and make things boring, and he still just wants to keep the excitement. Mind you, a few episodes ago Darren was just like, oh, their relationship is already no longer exciting, they don't do the things they used to do. That's just how a relationship is. It's going to fizzle out. No relationship is grand and exciting and wonderful as it was in the first year. You can keep things going, but at some point the novelty kind of dies down a bit. So I'm confused. Make up your mind, sir. Anyway, on top of that, she said like, okay, what are some other things that you're looking forward to? He was like, oh, well, we could have a kid because that would make things exciting. So in this 14-year mess and outside children and not knowing if you want to be married, y'all really think it's a good idea to throw a child in the mixture. But okay, do you with the struggle of. And then after, she starts to tell her point of view of what she sees marriage to be, like what she envisions it to be. She wants a child, she wants a dog, she wants him to be more emotionally supportive, and she definitely wants to be married because for her, she says, people in her family, they've lasted, they haven't divorced, and so she doesn't want to be just girlfriend, boyfriend anymore. And so she asks him, do you have a fear of marriage? Like, what is it? So he says, no, he doesn't have a fear of marriage, but for him, he doesn't have any healthy examples of like long-term successful marriages. So she says, what about your grandparents? And he says, well, they were married, but essentially it was a struggle. They were like physically as well as verbally, like, you know, I don't want to use the word abusive, but it sounds like that's what he was just saying. Like the marriage, they were married until death did them part, but the marriage was a struggle. That's what he made it sound like. And so for him, that's what he doesn't want. And I think that's a valid point. Not having healthy examples of marriage, it could play, I definitely think it plays a lot into why he doesn't want to be married. But on top of that, there comes a point when you move away from the generations before you, and maybe you become the first generation to do something differently. So it's an excuse that only goes so far for me. So in her confessional, Alexia actually says, well, she thinks they're inching closer to a proposal because Darion has been so attentive. He's been so much more romantic, and she's just through the roof. Like, for the first time with him, we are really seeing her like genuinely happy. She's smiling a lot. And I felt so bad watching it, knowing what we know from the previews, even though I haven't seen it in this episode yet. I'm just like, girl, oh my. Like, I felt so bad for her. But Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Mm. In the next scene, we see Dr. Nicole, who goes to have a one-on-one session with Jessica because she says she needs help with developing or building trust with Eric. So it was quite I guess, a little bit of a conversation, but the summary of it was Jessica has communication issues because she revealed that even when he hurts her feelings with the things that he says, that she doesn't usually say anything. He does make her uncomfortable by putting her on the hot seat. So all in all, Dr. Nicole tells her that she needs to remember that having a guard up not only protects her from the bad things, but it also creates like a barrier for good things as well. So she advised her to not be so tit for tat because she brought up an example of something Eric did, and Dr. Nicole basically let her know, like, the first time I experienced something like that with you two, it was actually coming from you. So you're complaining about things with him, but you actually mirror his behavior. So rather than looking to him to guarantee the change in your actions, you need to be the guarantee in your relationship. And then she also just told her that she needs to work on, saying how she feels and letting down her guard and being a bit more vulnerable. And that was the end of that. It was quite a boring conversation if you ask me, but yeah, she feels better. Sean and Tari's date was next, and I like Tari, but somehow I'm not feeling the vibes with her and Sean, but they seem to like each other. So she comes in, they sit down, they're having like a lunch, and the conversation starts with just small talk, like what do you like to eat, this kind of thing, and then they started laughing over the fact that they both don't eat red meat and pork. And then after that, Sean asked her, like, why did she agree to be a part of this experience? Because obviously, like, who wants to date someone who already has a person? And Sweetie sounds like she's been having a crap time out here in these dating streets because she says she just wanted to be with someone who was going to be upfront about the fact that they had a girlfriend. The next date is Eric and Leilani's date, and they meet up, and their date looks like a dinner date, or I think it was a dinner date. Yeah. Eric starts by telling us that he likes Leilani because she makes him comfortable and she listens to him, and of course he's attracted to her. And then she tells us that she feels like her and Eric, they've clicked fairly quickly, and she's open to a relationship with him should his relationship with Jessica not work out, because apparently he has let her know that he doesn't think his relationship with Jessica is going to work out. And I was like, oh really? Do tell, girl, do tell. Their conversation goes on a bit more. She tells him a little bit about her mom and her daughter and the fact that she moved to America from Panama to take care of them. So she's the one who's taking care of them. Here goes Eric in his confessional that, oh, he's gonna be in trouble because it's getting very touchy. So apparently, like, Leilani is very hands-on. I think she's a masseuse or something, or she does skincare. He said something to the effect of skincare. So she's very touchy-feely, and so she's touching his shoulder, touching his shirt, and he is loving it. But with his mouth, verbally, he's like, oh no, we shouldn't be doing this, I'm gonna be in trouble with my girl. But he's smiling and absolutely loving it. Look, Eric is more shallow than a kiddie pool, okay? More shallow than a kiddie pool. After that date, we move to the scene where Dr. Nicole meets up with only the guys. And so she starts a conversation with them, asking them, like, how do you feel in terms of your progress compared to when we just got here? So the different guys said what they felt. I believe Sean said something about he has realized that his relationship is a bit more toxic than he initially thought. Eric asked something in terms of like dealing with relationships and what is inappropriate to say. something about Jessica telling him to man up. So of course Dr. Nicole tells him like that's not appropriate, and usually when a woman says something like that, it's more so to do with her and what she thinks than with the actual man. So it's okay for men to stand in their masculinity as well as show emotion. And that spiraled off into a conversation about, you know, the history behind how boys are brought up to not show any emotion even when something genuinely hurts them. And she's just saying that it's okay to actually verbalize if something makes you uncomfortable or if something doesn't work for you. And we move on from that to here goes Darian looking validation to co-sign his BS, talking about he wants help from Dr. Nicole with Alexia because he doesn't think it's right. Essentially, Alexia told him like at the end of this process, if there's no engagement, then she's gonna be walking away. So his whole thing is he doesn't think that's fair because they've dedicated 14 years to the relationship and they should just keep things going even if it doesn't end in an engagement right now, because it's going to lead there soon, or it will they're on the path to getting there. So Dr. Nicole was like, I don't know if I can help you with that, boo, because it's been 14 years, which is a very, very long time to be in a relationship. And right now you're basically just going around in a loop, and she is perfectly within her right to get off and decide to, you know, go in a straight line, meaning get off this roller coaster and move on, because it doesn't make, she said to him, like, your argument is not even logical anymore, because if 14 years hasn't led to anything, then after this process, then the times to come aren't going to lead to anything either. So she agrees essentially with Alexia that they need to make a decision right now, because what it's showing is that they're possibly forcing something that either neither of them are ready for or neither of them are sure for. So to my surprise, Darian received that very well. I think he respects Dr. Nicole because when she speaks, he listens. And so he, I guess, had a breakthrough and realized that he has been very comfortable being stagnant. And she was like, she made me seem like a narcissist, like everything was about me. I was like, welcome to our side, Darian. Welcome. Welcome. Then, guys, came the golden scene, because the next scene is Kai walking into the date with Darian. Sis came in salty, okay? Because she came in, he thought he was gonna get a hug. She gave him the hand, and even him holding onto her hand, she was pulling away. She was just like, no, she was not in the mood for any of it. And when she sat down like a G and said, yo, what's up? I haven't seen or heard from you in 10 days. Like, she wasn't on that cute, like, she was not here for the madness. So Darren was like, well, you know, you haven't heard from me because I thought it would be disrespectful to just hit you up with a message. I wanted to speak to you in person. She was like, nah, but you had plenty of time to speak to me. You could have, you know, dropped a message. You could have even DM'd me something, but I didn't hear from you at all. You basically ghosted me. And so after that, he went into trying to explain like the situation and decision that he has made with wanting to like make things work out with Alexia. And it's as though Kai feels like she is entitled to something, because she says, well, I've already been disrespected. And, you know, he was just like, well, since I told Alexia that I don't want to continue dates with you, we're at a place of peace. And she was just not here for it. She was just like, oh, but y'all had problems before me. So, and then on top of that, she was just like, well, why couldn't you communicate that with me, you know, sooner? You could have found time to get away in between. So he was like, no, well, during this time when I've been absent, I really just wanted to focus all my energy on Alexia to kind of show her that we're back where we need to be, to show her that I'm putting in effort. And she was just like, her whole attitude was just kind of like she's owed something. And then on top of that, she said, well, did you tell her about the time that we spent together? So, you know, I start listening real closely because I'm like, ma'am, please expound. What do you mean? You know, so he was just like, no, that wouldn't have helped my relationship. Emphasis on the my. I was like, oh, so now it's my relationship, because he wasn't speaking like that in the beginning when he just started dating her. It was like Alexia this and Alexia that. Now he's emphasizing my relationship and my woman, and oh, okay. So they have some banter in between, and eventually Kai says, you know what? Well, it's clear that you're not concerned about my feelings, because you could have gotten around to let me know this, that, and the third. And obviously you're not thinking about me. You're only thinking about Alexia. Then sis dropped the bomb of all bombs that we saw in the preview and said, but you wasn't worried about that. I hate when, first of all, sidebar, I hate when people say you wasn't. So I'm gonna correct it for her. She said, but you weren't worried when we slept together. And then she was like, you weren't concerned when we were having that great sex. I was like, oh no. Oh no, oh no. Oh no. So she has confirmed it for us that he was creeping, sleeping, doing the whole shabam, because apparently Darian like full blown cheated. It doesn't sound like it's a link up. Like she used the word sex. So they have been having a sexual relationship. And yeah, so he full blown cheated. And I'm just like, Darren is dirty. Like, you've been on 4 dates with someone. You are here to decide if you want to marry someone you've been with for 14 years. And you found the time to sleep with someone outside. And for me, it's the way he was acting with, like, even the previous episodes where he was holding on to her hand and Alexia was uncomfortable with that. His whole thing was, oh no, I'm not holding on to her hand, she's holding on to my hand. Meanwhile, you were out here busting down walls? Sir, no. Absolutely not. So in the previews, in terms of Alexia's reaction, we do see where she says that since she found out that her and Darian cheated on her, they have not communicated. So of course her bubble was just popped. It was very short-lived because she was on cloud 9 this entire episode, and I don't know. I feel bad for her, but at the same time, I don't, because you know what you know. He has 3 outside kids during a relationship, so you already know. I don't feel like this comes as any surprise, and I'm looking forward to next week because, guys, Kai is ready to blow the spot up. I feel like she's going to be very vindictive, and she's going to go out of her way to make sure Alexia knows the grimy details of how, when, and why. All right, guys, so that wraps up everything that happened this week and everything we can look forward to for next week. And until next week, I need you to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. If you keep coming back, guys, go ahead, join the family and chat to me in the comments. Tell me your point of views. Tell me what you think about Dirty Darion, okay? That's my new nickname for him. As well as Jessica and Eric and the situation between Lon and, did I say Lon? Sean and LaRonda. So until next week, guys.